When we get into bed tonight, we expect a soft mattress and a climate-controlled room. For centuries, the most sought-after sleep experience meant abandoning those comforts to lie directly on the cold floor of a pitch-black cathedral. This practice was known as incubation. Millions of people throughout history willingly subjected themselves to nights of extreme physical discomfort, believing that sleeping inside a holy site was the only way to find a miracle. These seekers were driven by desperation. They came to the church looking for a cure for an incurable disease, a prophetic vision to guide a major life choice, or a place of asylum from physical or spiritual threats. The impulse to sleep in the house of a god is older than Christianity. Long before the first cathedral, ancient Greeks and Egyptians regularly slept in their temples to seek divine intervention in their dreams. While history records thousands of successful cures and vivid visions from these nights, we have to look past the religious explanations. We need to determine if ancient architects inadvertently built environments that force the human brain to create specific psychological phenomena. The process began long before the sleeper reached the floor. A mandatory 3-day fast weakened the physical body, a ritual intended to prevent impure thoughts, but one that likely increased the subject's susceptibility to hallucinations. Seekers also spent hours staring at specific icons or statues of saints. By flooding the visual cortex with these images immediately before sleep, they effectively programmed their minds to project those exact faces into their dream state. Choosing a freezing stone floor over a bed was a deliberate part of the mechanism. The cold kept the brain's survival instincts alert, even as the body attempted to enter deep sleep. This internal friction creates a volatile, altered state, where the boundary between waking logic and dream imagery begins to dissolve. Incubation turns sleep into a period of intense psychological work. A medieval cathedral functions as a tool for sensory overload. The scale and geometry of the space are designed to overwhelm the human nervous system once the lights go out. The vast, hollow naves capture the wind outside and distort it through complex stone acoustics. To a freezing, exhausted person on the floor, these subtle, shifting drafts sound exactly like whispering voices, providing the brain with audio confirmation that a divine presence is in the room. This is a diagram showing what happens when massive stone pillars interact with moving air. They naturally generate low-frequency sound waves, or infrasound, that exist below the threshold of human hearing. Research into infrasound reveals that sustained exposure to these frequencies triggers severe anxiety, a distinct feeling of being watched, and vivid visual hallucinations. The terrifying shadows and angelic encounters reported by generations of sleepers were the physical consequences of architectural physics hijacking human biology. When extreme desperation meets the absolute belief that a miracle is imminent, the brain's chemistry changes. Deep sleep in a high-stakes environment triggers massive endorphin releases. As these chemicals flood the nervous system, they dampen pain signals and lower stress levels, often creating a physical sensation of recovery that the sleeper interprets as a divine cure. Conversely, common neurological glitches like sleep paralysis were interpreted through a religious lens. Waking up unable to move with a heavy pressure on your chest, a standard biological error, was seen as a literal demonic attack because of the sacred setting. The miracle of the holy sleep was the human brain's ability to heal or terrify itself when anchored by a powerful enough psychological belief. The practice eventually faded as the Protestant Reformation began condemning incubation as a superstitious pagan ritual that had no place in modern worship. The rise of the scientific revolution dealt the final blow. As doctors identified the biological causes of disease and developed physical treatments, the desperation that drove people to sleep on church floors began to vanish. We moved our expectations of healing out of the dark naves and into the sterile, brightly lit environments of the modern hospital. We can still see what people were trying to fix by examining these metallic tokens. These were left behind as thank you notes, shaped like the specific arms, legs, and eyes the sleepers believed were restored in the dark. The introduction of electricity eventually removed the deep shadows from the world's cathedrals, ending the atmospheric conditions that allowed the ritual to function. Incubation was an intuitive, effective early form of psychosomatic therapy, using the environment to trigger a biological response. Modern humanity chose a different path, trading the potential for a transformative spiritual experience for the comfort and safety of a soft mattress. Despite our advancements, the innate human need for a silent, sacred space remains. We are still looking for a place to close our eyes and hope for an answer in the dark.